Well, hey everybody, welcome back to our. This is kind of like a podcast style show, and I've got Bre Drake, an educator, online educator with an incredible social channel. I actually found her social channel and reached out to her. I guess you could say cold, fresh, and I think Bre, did you know about us, and I didn't know about you, or something? Is that kind of how it worked?
Oh, for sure. I definitely knew about you guys. Last year, actually, you know Amy of We Feed Raw? I'm
Oh,
sure
I
you
love
do.
Amy.
Yeah, Amy actually, when my older golden was diagnosed with cancer last year, Gussy's Gut was one of the products she recommended. She immediately emailed me and was like, "You've got to start adding this to her food." So, yeah, that's how I found out you guys. And then
Oh,
I've
that's awesome.
heard you interviewed on a couple of podcasts, Pet Parenting Reset with Jessica Fisher, and
Love
I love what you
Jessica.
guys are doing.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, cool. All good people. That's great. I'll have to thank Amy for that reach out. Well,
Yeah.
so for those of you who've not been to Bree's social, she's a very outspoken, in the very best way, and very bold educator and also advocate for natural pet health, which I really, really appreciated. She's got some. Well, first of all, not only do you have really great takes on a lot of different topics, like a very wide range, but the way you communicate it, I think, is very friendly to the new ears out there, the people that are looking around like maybe there's a better way. Maybe what I've been doing that's not working is has got to change. And I think it's people just like you, Bree, that are really changing the world. I think even faster than veterinarians, because people are going to you before they're going to veterinarians to open up their mind, and then they're looking for the right veterinarians. You know, so, what I want to ask you first is what is your biggest frustration right now? The thing that you're most focused on and really passionate about educating pet parents on today?
Gosh, that is a hard question to answer. There's a
Let's
lot
start
of
with the hardest
frustration.
one.
Um, So, gosh, I mean, so just today, I had a consultation client. I'm a holistic pet health coach too, taught by Dr. Ruth Roberts. And so I work one-on-one with dog parents. And I had one dog parent who I've been working with reach out to me this morning that brought her dog to the vet because he seemed to be breathing a little faster than normal. And um, so that's one of my frustrations is just there's so much of a knowledge gap with dog parents. We do so much of our critical thinking. We outsource it to veterinarians instead of learning how to deal with some of our more everyday issues at home on our own. And when we bring them into the veterinary office, of course there's real emergencies and we want to be trained in how to recognize those. But I think this heavy reliance on vets and them to the for every small thing is wearing our vets out, and it's also causing us and our dogs unnecessary stress. And usually people are walking out of the vet office with medications that their dog doesn't need. And I think that's partly a demand issue where dog parents want their problem solved right away. So they're getting the vet is supplying that medication that will rid of those symptoms right away. Um, so yeah, I think that's a huge problem. Is my goal is to help educate people on how to be more confident, prevent these everyday issues from happening, through diet, through lifestyle, and then also giving them the tools and the confidence they need to walk into that, knowing what they might need and knowing what they should maybe be getting a second opinion on or doing some research on. So I guess in a nutshell, that's probably the biggest issue that I'm seeing is
Yeah.
that
Well,
we're not taking our dog's health into our own hands enough, and it's ultimately ending or leading to our dogs having more issues than they had to begin with because we're getting stuck in this cycle at the vet.
yeah. We also could uh, acknowledge that sometimes you're getting a 7-minute consultation with most veterinarians. That's the average, 7 minutes. They come in, then you get time with the rest of the people that are supporting that vet. And so you're only getting 7 minutes. You're walking out with a over $100 bill minimum. and you could have saved yourself a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of anguish, and these things just add up over time. And I think if I can distill what you're saying, just correct me if I'm wrong, is it's having, like, the thing I notice in my business as well is it's the way of thinking about pet health. It's like a way of thinking around strategy and anxiety and worry that I think pet health coaches are have the biggest need for right now. And they end up saving you hundreds, and sometimes some people thousands a year, like every
Yes.
year. We see this over and over again. and we need to add you to we have a list of pet health coaches. We need to add you to that list that Gussy's got. Because when people ask us, we refer them out to a list. We give them people that we like to work with, and they can choose who they work with. Excuse me. And that includes holistic vets that we really like. And all of these folks can do this by Zoom. So the first question we get all the time, Bre, is, well, who's in my area? You don't need anybody in your area. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Getting people accustomed to this. Like, your vet doesn't have to be local. Your best vet isn't going to be the one 5 minutes down the road, most likely. And that's what most people are relying on. And I say that all the time, that a virtual consultation, a virtual appointment with a vet is just as effective for the most part. And you can lean on your local vets if you need some kind of hands-on testing or diagnostics run that they can then share with your holistic vet, and you guys can talk about it. But that's a big piece that's missing. This is something I didn't know about either until a couple of years ago. And it is the way just to work with a holistic coach or virtually, and hopefully you won't need to ever see a vet, but they can work together with your local vet if you need some hands-on examinations.
Yeah. So give us an example of, like, the mindset of that you're helping a pet owner with. And also, I think strategy is so big, and it's not like some complicated thing, because a really trained, well-trained, and some person who's gone like a mile deep in a subject, like yourself, and a pet owner who is not a mile deep in a subject, you can bridge that a little bit for a specific situation and say, have you ever asked this? Have you ever thought about this? Are you looking at this? So that's just strategy. And, when you walk into your vet's office, maybe you can look at asking your vet about this blood test or looking into this area. And then you can have that 7 minutes so much more effective if you did decide you still wanted to go. Yeah. So can you walk us through just like some examples that are random, like what kind of advice you give to people? Just think about maybe your last 3 consults or something. Like, where was the client at, and then where did you get them to?
So I think my hardest clients are the ones this is most of the clients really, allergies and itchiness, and it's so difficult because it is, I kind of have to set their expectations from the very beginning that this is going to be a long haul. This is going to be at least a 3 to 6 month process. And, during that time when we're getting them off the kibble and we're incorporating gut support and we're, slowly getting them off of toxic medications, detox symptoms flare up. So things seemingly get worse. And quite honestly, that's really critical point in my consultations is I have to try to not lose these people and keep the momentum going. And oftentimes they'll slip and say, I want to go back to the vet. I'm just going to give him another steroid shot because he's miserable. And I'm like, look, that's going to undo all of our progress. Like, I get we uncomfortable, here's more ways. And I try to start with the most gentle way to keep a dog comfortable first, and then layer in the big guns as the parent gets more and more panicked. So gosh, most pet parents, they have a hard time because stuff does take time. It's not like our allopathic medicine where it works very quickly. So I kind of have to explain to them how all of that works, and patience and supporting the whole dog, and then, you know, playing the middleman with their conventional vets that they're seeing also. So
You're bringing up such a great point. We see this all the time at our company, like the patience / anxiety of different customers. They're like, I find that every customer has like this maximum line of, like, you know, in our company, it's like, I'm only going to give this one bag to try, and if it doesn't work, I'm out. And you go, okay, but that one bag only lasts you 14 days. I don't know what to tell you. And we'd rather not have their business. We'd rather not take their money. Go spend your money somewhere else. And if that's on a drug, go put it on a drug. I mean, we can't change you. And we tell everybody 90 days maximum. We need, well, actually minimum technically.
Yes.
Think about 90 days, because all really substantial changes and all these changes that they want to seek the change for, there were years in the making.
Yeah.
You know, they were like at the very minimum, many months in the making, usually years. And they just, like, they're wrapping their brain around that is a real lift. So having a consult with you kind of sets maybe resets their baseline of anxiety and says, okay, wait, if I can expect this and this and this to happen in this order, okay, maybe I can stick it out. But even still, you're saying, I know some are like, no, I'm out. I'm going for full on antibiotics. I'm going full on, you know, steroids, like all the worst things that are great when there's no other alternative, but not great just because you're being impatient.
Yeah, it takes work, and it takes patience, and it takes consistency.
Courage.
And a lot of people just courage, and faith, and so many people aren't ready for that. And like you said, for those people, sometimes it is best to just step away and be like, yeah, you should go and get the steroid shot, you know. And some people you can just tell, like, it's just not going to click for them. They're not quite ready yet. For me, it honestly all clicked very quickly. When my older golden got arthritis, started showing signs of severe arthritis a couple of years ago. And as soon as I met with one vet that showed, you know, turned on the light for me and talked to me about fresh feeding and alternative therapies and natural ways of doing things, it all made sense to me immediately. And then with both of my guys getting diagnosed with cancer late in their lives, it all made even more sense. I dug in even more and learned more about it. And like you were saying too, it takes a long time to undo months and years of abuse, really just getting pounded in every way with things that are causing chronic inflammation. My two guys, I'd seen the light. One of my dogs was 11 when I switched everything over, and one was 8.5. Unfortunately, I still lost both of them to cancer. And I know why that is. It's because they had a lifetime of being fed nothing but kibble, being given conventional flea and tick meds every single month, heartworm meds every single month. I mean, I was the most diligent dog parent, like checking all the boxes on the list. So it's a really hard mindset. And you're right. That's why coaching is so important, because you have dog parents that get it, and then you have the ones that really need you all the time to say, you're doing the right thing. Just keep going. I promise, like, this is part of the process. Some will leave you and keep going, but yeah, some jump ship, and there's just nothing you can do about it. Yeah.
So you were the pet parent that was super diligent with Western. You were doing tick and flea, and like you probably marked your calendar, and you know. And then what were you feeding? Kibble?
Oh yeah, same exact kibble, not a single change. The same exact Royal Canin, Royal Canin. I'm not even sure how you say it. Golden Retriever formula, their whole lives, nothing different. Because I thought that switching their food was going to make them sick, and that was a bad thing to do, like so many other dog parents think.
Isn't that amazing?
It's so frustrating. Yeah.
And what do you think about dogs that are, I call it in the penalty box. I like to use a gentle term, like when they're in a state of disease and they're in like a real, like, stage 4 problem, whether it doesn't have to be cancer, but stage 4 of allergies, stage 4 of fill in the blank dysbiosis. Would you agree with, like, a lot of times that's, you can remedy, even quote cure that. We'll use quotations around cure. Um, uh, but the amount of time and money to do that naturally goes up like way exponentially. And it can be possible, but most people really can't do that. Like they can't, do 3 massive treatments a week, go to their vet to do them, whether they be IVs or hyperbaric oxygen or ozone or whatever it may be. And the costs are like, 300 to 600 at a time to do all these natural, powerful therapies. And would you agree, like, it's still possible, but then you're really in trouble when it comes to, like, if you can't even feed raw on a daily basis, you really won't want to do to get your dog out of cancer. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I completely agree. It is exponentially harder at that point, the longer you wait. And that's why selfishly I try to work with dogs that don't have chronic issues going on as much as I like to work on the preventative side of things. And not that there's no hope for these dogs, but I think it's more of an issue with the dog parent at that point, because the need for that patience and understanding, it's exponentially greater when they have an older dog that is in the late stage of whatever, issue they're going through. So selfishly, I try to stay away from that. And my role on social media is to educate people to start right now and start doing these simple things, because I think you mentioned this earlier. It is really not complicated. It is really basic foundational things that we can be doing daily for our dogs early on, and then we should never have to see these problems, because it gets really hard and really discouraging. I mean, I just went through it. I lost one golden. I only had 6 weeks with him after finding out he had cancer. He was 8.5, but our other golden, who was 12.5, I had 9 months of ozone, of acupuncture, of mistletoe injections. I mean, it was a full-time job caring for her. It was awful. She was a senior dog that also had oral cancer that was inhibiting her ability to drink and eat as well. At one point, I was giving her subcutaneous fluids. So you really don't want to find yourself in that position. It's something I don't wish on anyone. You can keep them around longer and have a better quality of life. But yeah, it gets really expensive and really time consuming to do the natural methods.
Yeah. And also the thing you don't think about, like, it is the investment of time that it is so hard that you have to get referred to the right modalities, the right professionals for preventative care. When my first black lab buddy, just got older. So he stayed really, his health span was super high. And that was all preventative. He had no cancer or anything. I took him once every 2 weeks, 45-minute drive each way. So that's an hour and a half. That alone is horrible. Like for a lot of people, they don't have the time, the job, it's like, I had that time, but even I was like, I try to make use of it with phone calls and the drive up, and, it was a lot. And then of course the cost to do hyperbaric. So it was hyperbaric oxygen. So I went 45. It was a 45-minute session, and then I drove 45 minutes. That's a solid 3 hours out of your day. A lot of people can't do that, especially with kids, And so when people think about these things, I want you to think about what you don't know and don't realize could end up happening. You could be in a position where you have to just throw so much energy and money into your dog to save your dog. And typically I have seen in my experience that Western isn't going to save your dog. It just won't. Like, by the time your dog gets really sick, it's just not happening. So you have to go totally natural but like the other big thing that I think you're doing, Bre, that I want
Mhm.
people to really understand is there's a syntax, an order to doing things. Do this
Mhm.
first, then this, then this, then this. And
Mhm.
also what an expert can save you in wasted time and money. Like, oh, no, 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 no. I know you really, really, really want to do X, but let's do that at the end. Let's first do this. Let's get you some wins and get your
Mhm.
dog to this level. And then we go here. So it's, again, that strategy. Fair?
No, totally fair. And that's all great points. I mean, I was traveling 2 hours to one of the vets I was seeing, and I ended up purchasing an ozone generator for use at home just to avoid the stressful visits and to be able to administer it whenever I needed to. Yeah, it's just, you just don't want to be in that position. And that's something I didn't think about either. Fortunately, I do run my own businesses, and I do have the flexibility to be able to treat my dogs at home or drive them 2 hours to the vet. Yeah,
Yeah.
so many people don't do that. So you really have to think about what that looks like. And unfortunately, that's why, sorry, so many people just jump at the chemo, the radiation, the surgery if their dog has cancer, for example, because it's quicker and easier. And yeah, like you said, I don't think any of it actually works. It might buy you a little bit more time. And I I I personally don't believe that dogs handle it well. I think dogs are just stoic, and they're not showing us that they're uncomfortable or that it's making them feel sick, as
Yeah.
they do with
Yeah.
most things.
Yeah. I always wonder about breeds, and you've got Goldens. So what do you think about why do you think Goldens get cancer so young?
Yeah, gosh, being on social media, you get so many hurtful, heartless comments, and that's what I deal with a lot. Is I'm open about what happened with my two Goldens, and I have a Golden now who's 11 months old, and I'll get the comments that say, well, of course they died of cancer. You got a golden retriever. Stop supporting
Oh,
backyard breeders, and I hear that all the time. So, and of course,
so
having gone,
it's just let me just interject. It is
yeah,
social media, isn't it so great for the oversimplification of higher complicated problems?
yeah,
It's
it's just.
because somebody can come in, they swoop in,
Mhm.
feel like they're an expert with a one-off comment, whatever that may be. Maybe
Yeah.
it's, serves you right. You got a golden and they're inbred or they're whatever. And it's like, first of all, you know nothing about the breeding of these dogs. You
No.
know nothing about the that's a big overarching statement. Certainly
Yeah.
we know that all breeds are overbred and bred badly in some form or another, but not every dog.
No.
It
Yeah.
afflicts all breeds, but not every single dog. So that's on its face, just an absurd comment.
Yeah.
But I bet you know what I'm going to bet you some other people ask you or say to you. Well, if you're so good and so natural, why are your dogs sick?
Oh yeah, I got that one recently. Actually, for the first time recently, I got that one. Well, you claim to know everything, but your dogs died of cancer, and it's like, yeah, they did because I was doing the wrong things long before I knew better for a long time. Yeah,
And
exactly.
also, too, I mean, that's another false and absurdly oversimplified response because you could do the most perfect thing
Mhm.
in every single way. And by the way, what is that? Because every dog's unique and every dog's unique. And until we get to a point where you could theoretically run the full genetics of each dog
Mhm.
and then say, okay, this particular dog does not metabolize X, doesn't do this, doesn't do this. And then you go really hog wild, like,
Yeah.
like, like uber customized medicine, which nobody does. It doesn't exist at that
Mhm.
level. You couldn't possibly know what each individual dog is going to totally need. What you're doing, and I think really great holistic vets also do, is they say, look, these are the absolute basic fundamentals to have the healthiest dog.
Mhm.
And we'll help you do them the best way possible. Oh, and if you want to address allergies, Uh, and I heard you say that that's one of the, more complicated things. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
Allergies are almost at a level of cancer in terms of complexity, because
Right.
allergies, it the door gets opened for so many different reasons, for so many different
Yeah.
breeds, for so many different dogs, for so many different locations. Like,
Mhm.
location has a huge factor, food has a huge factor. And so I hope people hear this and they have a dog with allergies. Like, we can just at least get you to the point where you understand, like, allergies are maybe as complicated as cancer. They are
Yeah.
super. Like, it takes a whole, like Dr. Ian Billinghurst says that when he does a consult, he literally does an interrogation for 1 hour,
Mhm.
because when somebody he can't ask the question like, well, do you feed good quality food? Everybody says, sure, I do. Of course I do. But what they're really saying is, I'm feeding the best I know how currently.
Absolutely. It's a
And
great
so
point.
he interrogates every bite, every behavior, everything in the home, everything. And I'm sure you do too.
Mhm.
Well, like, do you have new carpeting? Do you have new furniture? Do you have Glade plug-in fresheners? Do you spray your dog with anything? What is it? What are the ingredients? I mean, you're just going through this interrogation process. And I think we lost your visual. We lost your camera. Um, but it's okay. We'll keep going. But
Okay.
that's exactly what people need, so that they can actually go, oh my goodness, I never even thought of that. And
Yeah.
so, should I eliminate that? What can I replace it with? And you providing some options. Oh my gosh, I never even heard of that product. And so you now get this ability to uh, save people time. I call it pulling time and money forward, because you now be able to save people a ton of time and usually a lot of money. And you're expediting the healing process, because you're shorting those two cycles. And we all know, like, there's a real thing that's called economic euthanasia. Some people have to put their dogs down because they can't afford to keep them healthy or well or treat them. And I mean, what a tragedy, because people just run out of money. And so you're back on the screen. So thank you.
That's that.
So I think basically you know, I'm just seeing these things and thinking them through, and recalling things. I have conversations with, the best veterinarians in the world. I'm
Mhm.
not name dropping, but I'm promising you folks, like, I am so privileged to be able to spend quality long time with folks. I've said this many times before, but I think it's worth repeating, that when these veterinarians trust you like they do me. We have these private, meals together, long meals. Sometimes a glass of wine's involved, and I get to hear the real, unvarnished reality of things. And I think that if pet owners w- truly wanted the best for their pets, they would either work with a great pet health coach, and/or preferably both, a great holistic vet in concert. And you could, because some really great holistic vets can be $300 to $600 an hour, and
Yeah.
you can
For
get
the
a
only
real,
hour. Yeah.
and they're that way because they're that good. They're going to save you that much time. And
Mhm.
I'll liken it to, I'm just going to offer this as well, that I experience in my life. So in my world of digital e-commerce world, you can hire a $40 an hour. You can hire a $20 an hour coder, developer, web developer, because that person's more junior in skill set, in time. They may take one task 4 hours. So they're $80. Let's say $20 per hour rate, 4 hours, that's an $80 rate. If I hire an $80 an hour developer because they've got 3 times more experience, I get that done in 1 hour. So I get faster progress. I make money faster. with the changes that we've developed and instituted in our website. We fix something, we whatever. And looking at the hourly rate of somebody is so misleading, because what you're really gaining is a shorter, more compressed time period, and you're getting a better, like more a bigger, wider spectrum of knowledge that could be the key that unlocks the thing for you that you need for your dog. So speak to that if you can a little bit. Any experience you have with that?
Yeah. So my goal as the coach is to hopefully only see someone once or, as minimal times as possible. Whereas a conventional vet, like your normal vet that's run by a big corporation, your vet down the road, they want you to keep coming back. They want to keep generating that quick revenue. They want to see you for 5-10 minutes. They have, their services, and they're highly marked up, and that's their business model. And for me, I want the individuals that I work with to get on the same page as you and I, for example, and have the right mindset to not have to rely on a vet anymore. So I do have my clients that'll reach out to me pretty consistently, like a couple times a week, and I try to wean them off of that. I want people I work with to have the tools to make decisions themselves and make sure that they don't have to rely on me or a holistic vet or a conventional vet. That should be the goal. And to your point, that is why it is so much more expensive to spend an hour or so with a holistic veterinarian. But you're most likely only going to need that hour, and unless you have something going on, like you're working through cancer or a severe allergy case or something of that nature. But I suggest that anyone who's getting a puppy, getting a dog, establish a relationship with a holistic veterinarian or holistic pet health coach or homeopathic vet. Establish that relationship early on. Help them or have them help you with the blueprint for raising your dog and caring for your dog, and make the goal to never have to go to the vet. I encourage anyone to get skilled in acute homeopathy prescribing, because that'll save you so much time. That'll save you the trips to the vet for a little bit of like ear irritation or diarrhea or something. And all of that is what adds up to making your dog sick when you're going to the vet, getting repeated steroids and antibiotics. So yeah, but that's the main goal, is pretty much less is more, and just understanding the basics.
Yeah. The number one thing that most traditional veterinary practices will do is just throw you that, I never say the name right, metronidazole, or how do you say that?
Metronidazole.
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 I need to practice it. I need to say those words over and over again. And it's just like the sort of aspirin to the headache, and it sometimes doesn't work, and it just kills. It wipes out the microbiome. So now you're really susceptible to some other bad things because you've done that. It really is like the nuclear option. A lot of times when you don't need the nuclear option, you could do the sort of laser targeted option first and evaluate. I just had this experience. I'll just share this with you, Bre. Like, this is a 9th or 10th time that Gus, because he's just a spaz. He's 9. He's going to be 9 in October, and he pounces on everything. He acts like a puppy, like a silly puppy all the time. It's maddening, because this happens all the time. He runs like a bat out of hell for his ball. He jumps super high, so I have to get him chiropractic all the time, which is fine, because I love chiropractors a lot for myself, and I take him regularly for tune-ups. But he needs to be adjusted, because sometimes he'll land on the jump, he compress his neck or his lower back, think of his hips and his neck. So there's that, and then he will pounce on his ball, or in the process of, like, he'll drop his ball, and then he'll like hit a rock on his dew claw or a tree root. So just 4 days ago, he hit a tree root, and he stopped, and he looked at me. This is far away. He looked at me, and he just lifted up his paw, and I was like, oh boy. So now I keep those dew claws super trimmed, so they're not long and curved. They're super trimmed. If I left them long, he'd be always in trouble.
Yes. Yeah.
Still, he impacts so heavily, he like explodes them. So they split. And the only thing I could do is wrap his paw, but then he'd be compromised in the way he ran and all that stuff. And honestly, like, even that's too much for me. Like, that's my limit. I'm not going to wrap. I take him out twice a day. Am I going to wrap him twice a day? Like, so I trim his dew claws. All of his claws are always trimmed, but still this happened. Okay. So a traditional vet would say he busted his dew claw, needs to go on antibiotics. Okay. So 10 times he'd have been on antibiotics. Okay. So I take him to my vet. She has all these tools in her toolbox for the price of one visit. She takes out her cold laser. She plugs it in. She cold lasers it. She lasers it for antibacterial effects. And then what else? I'm trying to remember if she did anything else on that trip. No. And then she gave me this I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the term, but it's like a golden paste. One of the things it has, it's all Chinese herbs, and it has heavy turmeric. And I mean, you smell this stuff. It is, if you think of like a turmeric, if you think of like turmeric tea, like a tea bag, it smells literally 500 to 1,000 times stronger. And you open it up, and you're like, but my mouth waters because it smells good, but it's super strong. So I make a paste. I she said, paint his nail, put a gauze on it, and wrap it. It'll draw out and dry out the dew claw, so it will either fall off or it'll break off.
Yeah.
She said the only thing I could do is trim it beyond the break, and then that's like super traumatic, and he'll have to cut the quick. It's like you trimming like right up to your, cuticle.
That would be so painful. Yeah.
Yeah. So we avoided that pain. We kept him in a position where he was safe and from a bacterial infection. And we did this thing where it drew out any impurities and also like dried it up. So I did it. It was great. It was great. I just bandaged him up, did it for like 4 days. That's all I needed to do. And I felt really great. Like the laser really made me feel a baseline of safety. Plus it was also anti-inflammatory. And then I got left home with a prescription, but the prescription was a paste, and it was all crazy, cool, silly stuff was in it. And, so this is an example of like that's an everyday experience with a great holistic pet health coach who, in your case, you wouldn't be in person prescribing. You would say, you know what, go to your store, get this, this, and this, mix it together, and this is how you apply it, right? Yeah.
But you go to a conventional veterinarian, and you're right. Instant round of antibiotics, some kind of harsh topical. They cut the nail off. I mean, a super stressful visit. You want to get stuck in that cycle, and that's what happens. We love our dogs so much, so I used to be that dog parent. Every little thing, like, God, should I take them to the vet? But that's the worst thing you can do. Like, understand what true emergencies are, and when a true emergency would need real vet care. But otherwise, learn how to treat some of the stuff at home. Or have a good holistic or homeopathic vet on call for you to give you recommendations like that. And that was a great one. So I'm going to have to remember that, the turmeric paste thing. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, don't forget. When we end the call, I'll send you the name of it. I think I have the bottle still, but actually I do. I mean, what you're describing there is you're advocating for your client, the human client, and for the dog. And so having like a sounding board, folks, having an advocate that's actually looking out for your dog and not in that
not following strict.
It's, you alluded to it a while ago that we're beyond a corporate medicine model in veterinary care. We're really in a care that barely handles disease. That, in my opinion, this is completely my opinion, it's a model that is focused around numbers and getting you in more often. In some cases, it's paying a membership, and then you get that's what's figured in that membership. When you think that you get like free vaccines as part of that membership, you don't. It's getting paid for by the pharmaceutical companies. They're getting to do minimum injections and move a lot of product. The pharmaceutical companies are incentivizing. So the veterinary clinic's getting paid by that. They're getting paid by the prescription medicine, or sorry, pet food that they're prescribing. They're getting, all of these areas are getting monetized. And I have no problem with making money. My philosophy, my personal look, even if you want to be a horrible person and make money a horrible way, that's your problem, not mine. I believe in serving the world unselfishly and profiting. Like, I have to live, I have to make, I have to buy groceries, I have to do all that. But first, coming from a place of service, not a place of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to create this gut health company and I'm going to have 500,000 customers and I'm going to get this price down because in order to get 500,000 customers, it has to be a low price point and I got to do all these things. That is just not the place I play. And I just don't want any part of that. The clinics have a whole, by the way, I know several holistic vets that came from certain corporate clinics that may or may not have 3 letters in their name, and they may or may not rhyme with Jack Canfield, but they are, there's a lot of them. Those aren't the only 2. And they have told me very specifically how those work, how the directors of those and the managers in those companies want you to introduce certain things, certain protocols, certain medications. And if customers politely refuse over time, they will let you go. Because you're think about it this way, folks. You're taking up a spot of another person who will behave in the way they want to, which will make, they only have at the end of the day, they only have so many vets, so many vet techs. So whatever that clinic, let's say, is designed to serve, let's say that at an optimal level and occupancy, maximum occupancy, they need to serve 200 people a day. Just let's say, if you're 1 out of 200, or they have 50 of you, they're going to get rid of you because they need to fill that other 200. You fill that 200 people up with optimal maximized value, and that's just how they see it. There's nothing else you need to know. It doesn't have to get any more difficult than that. And so you either behave in the model and you like the model, or you don't, and then you leave. You get kicked out, and some will get kicked out for having a raw food diet.
Exactly. And I think it works the same way for the vets and the vet techs too. I know there's some that are they feel trapped, like they know what's happening. They see it, and those are the ones who eventually become our great holistic vets. But yeah, you nailed it. I say this a lot, that I don't care how much money someone makes. I really don't. Like, make your millions and billions, but it has to be with integrity. Like, you got to be, like, you can make as much money as you want, as long as you are truly helping dogs. And because a lot of people get bogged down and, the vets are just out for the money. And that may be true, but I'm okay with that. But not when you're selling things that are harming our dogs. And that's where I draw the line. And that's where it gets hard for me.
Yeah,
but I agree. Like,
well, I can tell you, I know gut health companies for pets that I know for a fact are making hundreds of times what we're making, making tens and tens of millions selling chews. I could be selling chews and no problem,
the point garbage.
The point is, why? Like, why do I get up every morning? Like, at that point, if you just think, I mean, this is the way my brain works. Like, if you're going to be like an evil capitalist, I love capitalism. I'm super pro capitalism. I'm super, like, I absolutely love it. But the cancerous, predatory types, and there's good and bad in every thing we have in the world. And the really predatory capitalism is the one that just says, you know what, I'm just going to go with the lowest common denominator, highest volume customer, where they don't need to be educated. They just want to buy something cheap and feel like they're doing something. And they might leave me. And all those people, I've also met them and talked to them, and they already know, like, they know, like, my average customer is worth this much, and they will leave me in month 4 of our subscription, and we don't care, because we will acquire a customer at this cost, we'll maximize their value here, and that's our business model, the end. And it's so, like, I'm like, why don't you just, I said to one of them one time, we had a really nice dinner at a really nice hotel. And I said, why don't you just sell cigarettes to babies? Like, why don't you just no, but seriously, like, why don't you just go and sell alcohol or something else? Like, nothing against alcohol, but, I guess for some people it's really bad. But again, like, there's so many big businesses where you could make billions and harm people's health. Like, like, why are you in the dog world? Like, don't you love dogs? Like, what is not to love about dogs? Like, it's one thing that's so perplexing to me, that why would you choose this business if you're not there to help and, like, profoundly make a huge shift in health? It's like,
the supplement industry is scary. I say this a lot too, that it's gotten as bad as the pharmaceutical industry at this point, where they're taking advantage of how much we love our pets. And a lot of the clients I work with will bring out, a bin of supplements that they've been giving their dogs. And I'm like, this is all garbage. And we'll read through some of it together. On the label, let's see what's in it. And they'll start reading it, like, oh, I'm never giving this again. And I'm like, they have no idea. Like, pretty marketing, these companies that just show up overnight, that's all it takes. And people are bought in on it. And they're a bunch of crooks. And you're right. Like, I don't understand how dog lovers could have so little integrity, if any at all. Because they're just preying on people. It'd be so easy. I mean, it'd be easy for someone like me to go source some cheap powder from the same place all these other supplement companies are sourcing this garbage powder that's not bioavailable and who knows what's in it, throwing a pretty label on it, marketing it well, and I could make tons of money off that, but I could never sleep at night. I don't know how these people do it. And it's awful. I see it all the time.
What you're really you're actually totally harming dogs, because what's happening is people want to be your customer because they have a problem. The problem has a finite period of time. And by creating a less superior product, or a low quality product, you're losing all that opportunity time to fix that dog. And so they just get worse and worse and worse. And sometimes it gets to be at a state of disease. So you're like, there's no other way to say it. You're actually physically harming a dog by not compressing that period of time and closing that problem out, And also the thing you said about they're kind of becoming more like pharmaceutical companies. A lot of them are owned by pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly.
A lot of them. And most people don't know that. Like, just go research, I started Gussy's Gut with $5,000. It's a family.
Your company is so wonderful because you're using whole foods, and that's what I instill in a lot of my followers, my clients, is stick to whole foods first and foremost. And if you have to layer in the big guns with some kind of targeted supplementation, some kind of synthetic, sure, but I guarantee you, if you're using the right whole foods in the diet, you're not going to need any of that. So that's the rule of thumb that I give people, is like, there's so many beautiful supplements out there, beautiful brands. I get it. And they're making you all these lovely promises that your dog is going to be thriving and live forever if they take this, but just get it, put it in the bowl in a whole food form. Their products like yours, which is just amazing.
Yeah. Thank you. The other thing I think people are not, it would be a fun exercise if every pet owner just pretended they wanted to start a supplement company. And you Googled like, private label pet supplements. And folks, you will find there's, like, in a search, 30 to 40 companies that will fully finished with like an investment of maybe as low as 2,500 bucks, maybe as high as 20 grand, that you could create like a glucosamine chondroitin. I mean, you just can go on and on, like a green powder, this, that. Now,
Yeah.
and they'll do the label, they'll design a label for you and everything, and you have a fully designed. Then all you have to do is go on Shopify and create a store.
Yep.
So that's how easy it is to get the pet supplement industry. And and by the way, there are a lot of these so-called. Well, I'm really very skeptical of a lot of these, like, meant to make you feel sick. Like, folks, I have these companies reach out to me all the time that, they have these wonderful, beautiful names, super beautiful logos that make the customer feel safe. And, they're third party vetting and they're this and that. Folks, I promise you, okay, it's not that hard to get in these companies at all. And they represent companies that source from every horrible source and place you can find. They're not the gatekeeper you need them to be. You're the gatekeeper. And you have to, it's like, it is working with a supplement company or a pet food company is like knowing your rancher and your farmer. So when you go to a farmer's market, you look that person in the eye, you say, you're the owner? Great. Tell me about you. Tell me about your farm. Oh, we don't spray. We don't have an organic certification, but we're higher than organics. We've never sprayed on our farm for 100 years, but it costs too much to do an organic certification. And that's why we don't. You go, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Well, then I don't need the organic certification. And you start to learn and know these people or whatever the case is. And that is what you should do with all the companies that you feed yourself and that you feed your pets. And I mean, even like every animal you have, birds, everything. Like, I would know where the seeds come from. You're feeding your birds and all that. And so anyway, where I was getting with this is you could do a fully done and dusted pet supplement company. Now, I think the audience in the market is fairly savvy enough. You're not really going to create a business if you do that. For any of the unscrupulous people who think they're going to be able to do that, you won't actually be a long-term success. In order to be a long-term success, you actually have to create change in your customers. If your dogs are, in my case, dogs, mostly we have a product for cats, but we're 99% dogs. If you're not creating a profound shift in a dog's health, they're not spending anything with you. I don't care if it's a $5 bag. They're just like, they have to move on to the next thing. And again, that's why some of these people leave them, but it's in their model. They don't care. They want to just, they're churning all these low, and it's actually makes sense because there's 50% of Americans. You got, 150 million Americans that own, just in America alone, that own dogs and cats. And that's a lot of people. You can just go through them and they'll give your company a shot. Then they'll float over to that company, and an Instagram ad comes in, they float to that company, and they switch, back and forth. But to be a successful long-term company, you have to actually create a profound change. And anyway, but then I was getting off track. So creating a private label, you could do that, and you have no clue, nor will they tell you where all those little mini ingredients that they mix together are mixed in. And they also won't tell you that the mix that the company they just mixed for before had all these other things, and you can have trace residual powders of other things that these dogs are getting. So the thing we found out was, oh my gosh, like we have a lot of, even the biggest companies you wouldn't even believe, like, Kraft Foods and Nestle and stuff. Yes, they have their own factories. A lot of times they'll use contract manufacturers, these big manufacturers that mix things in very big quantities, and they'll pack for you. Well, we're a small company, so we don't have any equipment. So we work with companies that do that, but to their specialty. We make sure that all the equipment's clean, and so much so that even if it's just vegetables that they processed before. If it's not organic, we make sure that's all cleaned out. But you can have a company that runs creatine or energy drink on the same line. They don't clean all of it because they're saving costs. They're cheap. And they go in and your dog has residuals of God knows what in a supplement. Now, I'm not trying to panic people because I'm not calling out any specific brand.
That's what it sounds like. But I'm glad we arrived here because, like you said earlier, one of the best things you can do is look at the founder, look at who created the company. Is their story meaningful? Or they have good intentions and motivation behind the product that they created? And always reach out, call, email, and have a discussion and talk through some of these things and ask about manufacturing and third-party testing and organic certification. Because like you were mentioning, sometimes it just takes a talk with the founder to understand why they may not be organic certified. And that's really important. Like, don't just fall for the pretty marketing. Really dig into it. You know, there's people that are willing to talk to you and talk you through it. And lack of transparency is a huge red flag. Like, buy something else if they're not going to be forthcoming and helpful and cooperative with you when you're asking these questions. And make sure all whole food ingredients that you can pronounce. But yeah, if you have to go for something that maybe is synthetic, definitely talk to who's created it and get some answers.
Yeah. I will say that I would love to talk to everybody. I just simply don't have the time because what you end up finding out is like what ends up really happening is the customers that love you and like they love you and they want to know something, it ends up getting into a huge conversation. I know you know this, Bre.
I understand. They'll bleed dry if you give them a little window.
And so that's why I just want to say that's why I have a bunch of videos out there. That's why I have, what I want to do is say to customers, hey, look, look at Dr. Ian Billinghurst, who has a 40-year career and reputation. If you think he's coming along with me to make a few bucks, like that's not how it works. He and I had a 25-year relationship before I started Gussy's Gut. And so, and all the vets that speak on our behalf for us, like they have asked the really hard questions. And you should know who those folks are because those are like the gatekeepers. Those are the people that come to us all the time and say, hey, we just got this Susan Thixton award for our, she comes out with the treats. So she does she does pet food, which we don't do. We do a pet food based supplement. So she can't award our supplements anything because that's not what she does. But she does a pet food and she does pet treat. So we have a treat. So we're one of only 30, I can't remember this year. I think it's 32 that got acknowledged. And keep in mind, folks, like on Amazon and everywhere, there's 1,500 brands in that are available in North America, 1,500 treats. And so we're one of 30. Now, it's like our vets and people like Susan that give us a complete, like, sorry to be so crass, but like proctology exam. And they know they're in everything. Like they get to see who like mixes our product, packages it. They get the packaging details. Like, I mean, it's full on. They know all of our sourcing. They ask for proof of everything. And so it's what you're looking for as a consumer. And this is what I look for in my life when I consume something or I get my parents, I refer them a supplement, is I'm looking for like, who are the people that are behind it and vetting it so that they can do that all for me. And because like at the end of the day, like even in the pet food world or pet supplement world, it's kind of a lot. So you're looking for like, representative, trusted advisors that are like, yeah, look, I've already been through all that with these folks. You're good to go for it.
And their reputation's at stake if it is not a good product. So they're definitely
their reputations
guessing you.
Yeah. And again, that's really for the sake of time saving. And also, if we can just be real here for a second, like most people don't know what they don't know. So they don't even know what they're looking for. And again, that's another reason you're in their world is, well, let me tell you what you're looking for. Let me tell you what to ask a vet, or even what to ask, a company that, is going to, a customer that wants to buy a laser, hey, whoa, before you spend a few hundred or a few thousand, this is what you actually need. Don't let somebody steer you in this direction,
Right.
And I'm telling you, folks, like the savings of a great advisor and advocate is like, I did this in my head one time, and I figured out that for working with a advocate, a really good, talented advocate like you, Bre, for like a year is a 3x return on your investment. So that person is saving you, all in all, I kind of walked through it, is saving you between the time and the money of unnecessary vet visits. I'm just going to say unnecessary. Getting you off supplements you don't need, fixing the supplements you need, fixing the food you need, and then steering you in those cost savings areas. Like, hey, you actually don't need to do this. You do this instead. It's going to give you a much better lift in your pet's health than this is, and this is so much more expensive, And then, of course, there's no price you can pay on reduction in anxiety that a pet owner has for their, what's happening with their pet.
Yeah, and then our dogs feel that too. So it's just compounds because our dogs feed off of our stress, which is another often overlooked slow killer of our pets, is our own stress that rubs off on them. And that's yet another reason why I like to avoid vet visits if at all possible, because it is a stressful situation.
Yeah, stress and boredom. And people also don't realize, like, boredom of the breed. If you have the wrong breed, that you're not exercising or you're not giving them what they need. In my case, Labrador Retriever, it comes down to water and a ball. And, there's just the undue stress of, it might be, over grooming, or they don't like to go to the groomer, and that's stressful. I mean, it's a total microbiome killer. It's like, I say that it may or may not be as bad as an antibiotic, but you can kind of think of it that way. And then boredom and lack of purpose is just as evil and pernicious as sometimes stress can be. So people who aren't walking, they're out all day. Folks, get a dog walker, get somebody who you trust that'll love your dog throughout the day. My dad's a dog walker. He's retired, and he goes and visit. He loves it. I think it's his favorite job he's ever had. And I ask him almost every day that I talk to him, I say, do you have any more dogs left? And I say, who did you have? And he'll tell me. And a lot of these are just, I never even thought about it. He's technically a dog walker, but a lot of them are go visit, go play on the floor with these dogs. Some dogs aren't like outdoor dogs. They don't love it outdoors or whatever.
They just need some interaction. Yeah.
Yeah, just some love. He sits on the floor. He visits with them. Sometimes he just sits and they look at him and he looks at them, whatever. And it's just time and company. He lets them go out. He encourages them to go poop and all that sort of stuff. And I just realized, like, that's so valuable. So there's so many places where you could get a really good dog walker who will, and by the way, if you don't have a dog and you really want a dog and you're an executive, heck, get a dog. Like, have a dog that you love, that you can come home to and you could say goodbye to, and get a person to come visit twice a day.
Yeah.
Like, you don't worry, like, put cameras in your house if you're worried, about something. I mean, just like, it's not a problem. Like, but now you've got a really great dog. The dog can love you, or cat. The dog can love you. The cat can love you. And you can feel super guilt-free. You get somebody to shoot a picture or a video, send it to you while you're at the office. So it gives you access to love that you may not have been open to in the future, but there are always options.
Yes. No, I think, the stress and the boredom is so often overlooked. And just by the nature of kind of education and information that I share, I think it does really overwhelm people, especially when they're hearing it for the first time. I remember when I first read the Forever Dog book by Rodney Habib and Dr. Karen Becker, I was so overwhelmed for weeks, just stressing out, trying to figure out how I could afford to feed my dogs raw. Like, it all clicked to me, but it's overwhelming. So I try to remind people that I think, take all of that one at a time. And probably the best possible things you can do for your dog is give them adequate exercise, based on their breed and their personality and their needs, give them a purpose, and keep their environment as low stress as possible. Like, focus on those two things. I mean, I know of farm dogs who travel 15 miles a day on average, and they're fully vaccinated, kibble fed, killing a lot of wild animals too. They're healthy and thriving because they're getting their needs met every single day. So I think that's something that's free. That's something that's free. That's something that's good for you and for your dog. So I try to remind people, don't get overwhelmed in all those little details, because the stress alone is going to make things worse. Take it one step at a time. Prioritize meeting their physical and emotional needs first, if you can.
I always tell people, Bre, that never be afraid of being confused ever. It's you're right. You're at a place when you feel confused before a breakthrough. The term confuse is broken up into two parts. Con is the Greek meaning of con is to bring together, is together, and fuse is to fuse. You're fusing like thoughts that you've never had that are new to you. You're fusing them together, and you're right about to have a breakthrough right before or right after the state of confusion. So embrace confusion and say, you're here. I'm ready for you. I'm ready for the breakthrough I'm about to have. And so when somebody has a pet health coach like you, Bre, and they leave overwhelmed, you could just say, hey, look, let it wash over you. Take some time with it for a couple of days, but we're about to have a breakthrough. This is going to be amazing. And I just want people to be thinking about that when they work with a new paradigm of healthcare, because this is really exciting stuff. You're going to be a better version of yourself because you've gone through working with somebody like Bre and a holistic vet. And so maybe on that end, we'll leave on that positive note. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I love that. That's very well said. I like that a lot.
Okay, great. Well, Bre, thank you for being with me today. And thank you all for listening or watching this show. And we hope you'll come back and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Gussy's got YouTube channel, and also subscribe to Bre's social media. Bre, can you tell people where to find you?
Yeah, so right now I'm on Instagram at Tails Well Health. And then I also have a YouTube channel that I haven't given much love lately. And I think that's the same handle at Tails Well Health. So you can find me there. I have a website as well, tailswell.com. Yeah, would love to have you all there.
Great. So it's Tails, WELL. This is for people listening, health.com. And
tailswell.com is the website. Tailswell Health on Instagram. I had to health at the end to get that handle. So
oh, good. Okay. Tailswell.com. Great. I just want to make sure I got it right. So I'll put that right here on the screen, tailswell.com. Okay. And then all your social, including YouTube, is Tails Well Health.
Yes, that's right.
Good. Well, great. And I encourage everybody to see why I'm a fan of Bre's, why I reached out to her specifically because of her posts. She's somebody who gets it. And I really appreciate you being in the world, Bre. And thank you very much for all you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.